The clock is ticking, the hours are going by, the past increases, the future recedes, possibilities decreasing and regrets mounting. Good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation. Our topic of discussion today revolves around Sri Lanka's current state of affairs with an emphasis on the 21st Amendment to the Constitution. Joining us this evening on the show are Vijitha Herath, Member of Parliament from the National People's Power, Kesarlal Gunasekara, former Member of Parliament, Upul Jayasuriya, President's Council, former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, and also joining us tonight on the show is Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms. So let's get the ball rolling today with Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms. Dr. Rajapaksa, do you recollect the 12th of August 2020? Where were you? Do you want me to remind you the date?
12th, that election day.
No, a few days after the elections, the day in which cabinet portfolios were handed over by President
Yes.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa
Yes.
and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa in Kandy. Do you recollect that day?
Yes.
Where were you?
I was at home.
You were not in Kandy.
I went to Kandy on the previous day and came back.
You realized that there was not a suitable portfolio given to you and henceforth you returned back home with a heavy heart.
You know that I wanted to check what kind of portfolios that they have allocated me since they had invited to be present. Then I found that it was not suitable at all. Then I informed them and I came back.
So, Mr. Rajapaksa, your anger with the present cabinet began from that point onwards. Now, that is what the then cabinet ministers presumed or were vociferous about, stating that your anger with the then cabinet began from that day onwards because you did not get a suitable portfolio that made you happy.
It was not a reason for me to get anger. It's my policy that if I have been offered any portfolio or any position which is not suitable to my background, including the education, my experience, my professionalism, then I will not accept it. Whether it is a cabinet folio or any other positions, it's my policy. Then my criticism is not because that I have not been given a cabinet portfolio. I realized the weaknesses and the wrong decision taken by the government and the president at that time. In fact, that that's my anger was mounted in the first place when they appointed Dr. P.B. Jayasundara as the secretary to the president, because I was fighting with him more than 1.5 decades, and as a result of my COPE report in 2007, the Supreme Court delivered the judgment sacking him immediately from the office of the secretary to the Minister of Finance and Secretary to the Treasury, and the Supreme Court imposed him a fine, a compensation amounting to 500,000 rupees, and gave a further direction that he should not be recruited or accommodated in any public office. Secondly, that's my anger got mounted for the reason we knew that Newat Cabral was appointed as the governor of the central bank because we knew about his history and we know how much of damage that he has done to the Sri Lankan economy. Thereafter, of course, that there were so many other decisions that I criticized. One was that the policy of the fertilizer, because that we knew, being that we are from farmers community, we know the practical aspects of this, the cultivation, especially paddy. Then I didn't agree, and I tried to convince to change it that we couldn't do it. Yeah. And there were so many other. There is a long list.
I will give you one of the matters that you were in contention with the government, Minister Rajapaksa. One was the Port City bill that was presented to Parliament in April last year. This was just prior to the fertilizer ban coming into play. You were very vociferous against this particular bill in question. You criticized this bill, you were one of the petitioners who went to the Supreme Court against the bill, and then this man who is always very, very contentious about matters relating to the government suddenly does not turn up in Parliament when the vote takes up. Why is that?
You know, whether I vote it or not, that anyway they had the numbers. They got 149 votes. In my capacity as a lawyer, professional, then I challenged that one. I appeared in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, the determination, the Supreme Court determination gave specific directions that there are 29 sections which should be altered or amended. I think that we got some results because of the Supreme Court determination in that. Then of course, after I have opposed to it, that no purpose, so I am going there and voting either in favor of against it in any event the government had the majority.
Mr. Rajapaksa, interestingly, if you look at April 2021, when the Port City Bill was being debated and brought into the limelight, you received a call from President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. You said that you were threatened by the President and claimed that you feared for your safety and your family's safety. How is it you have now accepted a portfolio from the very person who threatened you?
Because you are asking that question on the basis that I have taken the portfolio to serve the President. I have not taken this portfolio to serve anybody, that is to serve the general public. I had lot of, lot of arguments with the President, some heated arguments, not one, so many occasions. But with all that, at a time when the country was facing a very critical juncture, then we went and discussed more than 3 to 4 weeks. I represented the independent group consisting of 41 members in the parliament. Those who came from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, together with, that's the other coalition parties. I became independent, of course, 14 months ago. The 40 members became independent in early April, and we went to the opposite side and we took our seats in the opposition. During that period, when we realized that the country was in trouble, we discussed with all the parties in the parliament, including the opposition leader. Then after a series of discussions, we went and made a representation to the President. Then at the same time, we invited the opposition leader to accept the government, to take over the government, that we will give the fullest support. When it was not happening, we went and told the President. We also made some demands on behalf of the 41 members group. One thing was to remove the ministers, then to remove the Prime Minister and to form a new government. When the President had to form the new government, then we also didn't want anybody from the Podujana Peramuna, because the people will not accept it, because the people were in anger, they were agitating. Then he accepted all our suggestions, and finally when he asked whether we will accept the appointment of Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe as the Prime Minister, that we said we will give the fullest support, because we also have got the confidence with his experience that he will be able to get rid of all the obstacles and just at least to resolve this economic crisis. Then the issue was both the President and the Prime Minister made a request for us also, not only myself, Susil Premajayantha, myself and few others, to come and accept the portfolios. Then we decided at a time where the country is in a difficult moment, and whereas we have confidence that we can give our services to resolve at least up to a certain extent of the existing issues, then we accepted that is to serve the nation.
Mr. Rajapaksa, you say something very interesting on April last year. You say that you worked with several presidents. You say that you worked with Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumartunga, President Mahinda Rajapaksa, Ranil Wickramasinghe in his capacity as the Prime Minister back then, then Maithripala Sirisena, and then you say you have never come across a president in the caliber of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and you go and accept the portfolio from that very person who threatened you and your family. Now tell me, how is the working relationship between you and President Gotabaya Rajapaksa as the head of the cabinet now?
Now the most important question is, now despite all these the conflicts that he himself invited, not that I went and asked for any position or a portfolio, while realizing that the bitter experience that we had in between two of us, when he invited for the sake of the country to serve the nation, then I'll have to forget about this personal feeling, because my service is needed not for him, to the country.
So where does it leave Dr. Vijayasa Rajapaksa now? Are you a member of the SLPP, or are you independent parliamentarian, or what are you now?
No, from the inception, I am a member of SLPP. I contested for the Colombo district and I was elected representing that political party. So long as that I remain in the parliament as a member of parliament, that I will have to remain as the member of the SLPP. That is the law of the land.
Right. Dr. Rajapaksa, it seems that from the Sunday newspapers that your relationship with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa is now well and good. Why? Because you had apparently, we cannot independently verify this, received a telephone call from President Gotabaya Rajapaksa stating that the final draft of the 21st Amendment to the Constitution be presented to Cabinet subsequent to the meeting end. That was on the 6th of June last week. And then you all were supposed to take it up for discussions today, which was the 13th of June. What is the progress?
Today we discussed that the bill. At the same time that he informed that there are a few members that who are part and parcel of the coalition government, SLPP, wanted this matter to be discussed further and they need certain clarifications. For that purpose, we fixed the meeting at 4 o'clock on Thursday and thereafter to take up this matter in the cabinet on the next Monday.
Where is the draft?
Draft is in the cabinet.
Draft
is in the cabinet.
Not as a white paper presented to media for the civil society to debate about, to talk about, to bring in the best out of the 21st Amendment of the Constitution. That is not there?
No,
in the
we
open?
have given to all the parties who wanted the copies. In addition to that, we circulated among all the party leaders, and all the party leaders who are representing in the parliament, something around 43 or 44 leaders we met and we discussed it. In addition to that, we gave the copies to the party leaders who are not represented in the parliament. Then we gave it to religious leaders and we discussed with them. I have discussed more than 50 organizations, including the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. All of them are having it.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Vijayasa Rajapaksa, Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms. I now move my attention to Upul Jayasuriya, President's Council, former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. Mr. Jayasuriya, Dr. Rajapaksa says that the 21st Amendment to the Constitution, the final draft bill which was presented to the Cabinet, is in the open. Now, you are a former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. Do you have the final draft?
Well, I don't have it personally, but it has been, some parts of it has been in the public domain, and it has been compared and gone into by various groups. And from what we understand, there are a fair amount of good suggestions included in the 21st Amendment as proposed by the government. But in the meantime, there are certain provisions that I don't think the civil society could agree to. Like, for instance, whatever this amendment that has to be now brought in has to be in line with the thinking of the people. Now, when you say thinking of the people, there is something that the youth that have started what we call commonly known as Aragalaya, Now there is one particular demand. It was two demands originally. Now it has now taken a different form. There is still another altogether two demands. But main demand that they have surfaced and are agitating is the removal of the president, for the president to go away, or at least the executive presidency to be shelved. We don't see that in this amendment, number one. Number two, we also don't see the president not holding ministry portfolio, certain ministry, whatever the ministry, and also holding any subjects, like whatever is not assigned to any other minister still shall remain with the president. Now this has two aspects of it. One is the defense ministry, other one is he can hold any subject. Now this is totally unacceptable. Now from the original gazette that they issued, the Honorable President issued with the announcement of the new cabinet, with the Prime Minister Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, there were about nearly 45 to 50 institutions that were left for the assigned to the president. So which is not what was envisaged or included in the 19th Amendment. 19th Amendment had only one ministry to be held by the president at that time, Mr. Maithripala Sirisena, that was only confined to him and not to the succeeding presidents. And that plus the Ministry of Defense plus the Ministry of Mahaviri and Environment. So that was personal to him. But any other president, no ministry could be held. Now I would like to draw everyone's attention to another matter. When this 1978 constitution was brought in 1978 by Honorable Jayajawardena, also at that time the Ministry of Defense was held by him. But you may recall that there was a Minister of National Security that was appointed, and all the subjects that were under the President, under the Ministry of Defense, was handled by the Minister of National Security. And he was also the Deputy Minister of Defense. In addition to that, what is the other ministry that was held by Mr. Jayawardena? There was only one ministry that he held, that was planning and plan implementation. So that is something that is needed for a leader. As a leader, he did the planning. It was his planning that brought the open economy. It was his planning that brought the Mahavali development project. That was to be completed in 30 years. Then it was his planning that brought the Greater Colombo Economic Commission law, which is now referred to as the Board of Investments. So he had done a lot of planning, and he was getting the plan implementation part of it, and he was supervising. He was at a supervisory role. But here again, here we have a president who is taking away Lanka. It may be any other institution, maybe the Fertilizer Corporation. How can those institutions even have the thinking of consulting the minister concerned, who is the president, who is all powerful and then such a busy man? So which means when you assign that kind of institutions as subject to the president, it happens that the minister concerned, the president in this instance, will never have the time to meet any one of those institutions, will not have the time or the interest. So that is why it has been well thought of. It was the case even in 1978, but it was different in the
right. So overall, Mr. Jayasuriya, is it a 19th Amendment minus, or is it a 19th Amendment plus that we're looking at as far as the 21st Amendment of the Constitution is concerned?
Now, actually, what we should have is 19 plus, but what we are now having is 19 minus. Now, these two main features. One is the executive presidency, which was to be amended in a certain way without abolishing the presidency itself. The ministries were to be curtailed. Other institutions are now being brought in. Now that is one of the main criteria where we are behind. But when you are saying 19 plus, there are certain non-controversial things that can be brought in under this constitutional amendment. We are all now starving for dollars. What is there in this now? Whatever we are doing is to create stability in the country. Because we require, some people are saying, is 19th Amendment that is going to be reenacted, is it going to solve the petrol queues or fuel queues? Yes, it is. Because we have to have the political stability. The power that is now centered with one person as a president has to be taken away. without which we cannot go into the international lending agencies or the international community and then ask for funding.
Do you think, Ms. Jayasuriya, that given the fact that the Aragale has been launched at Golf is green, the way in which things transpired subsequently, do you think the president should gracefully leave office?
Yes, I say that. Not only I say that, but it can be done not if not in one instance, it can be done in several stages.
Right. Thank you very much.
It can't be done overnight. Maybe it has to have a referendum at some point of time. So it can be done in stages. But the first step, I think, in that direction would be to reduce the powers of the president, and that is one way that we can bring in 19, not even 19 plus. If you bring in the 19th Amendment, the president shall not hold any ministry.
Right. Thank you very much. That, of course, was Upul Jayasuriya, President's Council, former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka.
There's one other thing that I want to say now. We are saying 19 plus.
Yeah.
That is, I have also proposed to Mr. Vijayadas Rajapaksa in the search of dollars into this country. One of the main features that was incorporated in the Constitution was Article 157. That was to give the confidence to the investors who are seeking to come to this country, to say that we will not interfere, the government shall not interfere with regard to investments that are coming from these countries that have entered into a investment protection agreement or treaty or whatever in that form. Now what happened is they brought the underperforming act, and then they have brought so many other acts, and then that has been really diluted. So we have to, why should there be investment protection to be given only to those countries with which we have entered into treaties?
Right.
Why shouldn't it be given to all investment, all foreign investment?
Very quickly, Ms. Jayasuriya, you spoke about the Board of Investment and how it should be given the opportunity to attract investor confidence to the country. We now hear from the grapevine that business tycoon Dhammika Pereira is going to be appointed as the Minister of Investment Promotion in Sri Lanka. Do you think that's a good move?
I will not give a political answer to that, but I will give a practical answer to that. Mr. Dhammika Pereira has been a former chairman of the BOI, and I pay a compliment to him because he's always, I'm not saying that because he's now going to be a member of parliament and also minister. He was known to be a doer. At that time when he was in the BOI, from what I have heard, he has brought in a situation where all approvals that are being sought by the investors have to be given in one day. Now this is something that he brought. That was a good thing. During my tenure, for nearly 2.5 years of the entire regime, I was always telling our staff there, don't ask the question why. Ask the question why not. Right. So it's in the same direction. So that in that way, if it takes the position of the minister in charge of the BOI, then there is a lot of things that have to be done with regard to the BOI amendment of the law, what we have, which is a tinkered law. We have to make it amenable and suitable to the current situation to bring in the investor. We have to be better than all the other countries in the region.
Right. Thank you very much.
Which we are not.
Thank you very much, Upul Jayasuriya, President's Council, former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. I now move my attention to Vijay Herath, Member of Parliament from the National People's Power. Mr. Herath, what is the position of the NPP with regard to the 21st Amendment to the Constitution?
As a principle, we are with 21st Amendment, but we don't know what is the content of the 21st Amendment. But we were received one of the copy, but after that there were so many discussions were going on, and I think according to my knowledge there were some amendments were also included. Therefore, we don't know what is the final draft of the 21st Amendment, but we are with the 21st Amendment because our principle is we want to abolish the total executive powers, and if there is a chance to reduce the executive president's powers, we totally agree with that.
So, Mr. Herath, when you look at the 21st Amendment to the Constitution, one of the clauses that was to be brought in was the dual citizenship. Now, we saw the manner in which the only dual citizen right now or before in the Sri Lankan Parliament, prior to the resignation of Basil Rajapaksa as the Minister of Finance, subsequently a parliamentarian. Now, that door is somewhat closed, isn't it?
Actually, we were the party who included that clause to the 19th Amendment in 2015. We proposed that, and then after that all other parties agree with us. I don't know, the Basil Rajapaksa has resigned because of that clause. I don't know what is the reason of his resignation, but we think we must include that clause to the 21st Amendment, not only the members of parliamentarians, but also the key positions also. For example, the ambassadors and chairmen of some main institutions. Yeah, for example, the UGC chairman, he must be a Sri Lankan citizen, and all ambassadors must be Sri Lankan citizens. They should not be dual citizens. Therefore, there are so many proposals, and we have submitted our party proposals to the Minister, and we think after some discussions in future, we can come to a good point.
Mr. Herath, when we take a look at the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, when it was being passed in Parliament, many said, many in the civil society, many politicians, many parliamentarians said that a dual citizen can come to Sri Lanka, ruin the country's economy, and then go back to their own country.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that what is happening right now in Sri Lanka? You had Minister Basil Rajapaksa being appointed as a Minister of Finance, several months of very bad mismanagement, and he now resigns and now looks forward apparently to go back to the US and spend time with his family.
Yes, I watched his press conference when he gave his resignation, after he gave his resignation, and he said that he will go to America and will come back if people will recall him. We don't know, people will ask to come again to Sri Lanka. Not only the Basil Rajapaksa, if he take the most popular example, the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he was also the American citizen, and there was a debate on that his citizenship also, but now he is the President. He also can go to USA after completing his period, and he can obtain USA citizenship again, and Sri Lankan people will suffer a lot. Basil Rajapaksa also did so many bad things to our economy and our country. Now he will save, he will go back. That's why that clause must be included to the amendment, not only to the politicians but also the officials also.
Right. So, Mr. Herath, you say that a clause of this sort will ensure that no portfolios could be taken over by any individual who has a dual citizenship. But I want to go back a little bit. Around 2 or 3 years ago, when COVID happened, Basil Rajapaksa was not a minister, was not a parliamentarian, but he was heading the COVID task force, being the president's brother. So what happens if that would be our fate in the future?
He was the chairman of COVID committee, and not only that, he was the chairman of the total, there was an economic committee that's called development of Sri Lanka economy, or what there are some other words.
Economic Council, no?
Economic,
Council.
not council, task force.
Task
the
force,
presidential
yeah,
task force was
yeah.
there. He was the president of that task force. At the very beginning, he was appointed as a chairman of that task force.
So what happens if something of this sort happens? Then he will be the puppeteer who is moving all the politicians, and the politicians who are working on his whim and fancy would take decisions at the end of the day, and it's going to be the same predicament that we are facing right now.
Actually, he has been taking all decisions using that task force, There was a minister, economic minister, and there was a minister of health also. But the Basil Rajapaksa was the person who took all decisions. He was the key person behind the screen. All government ministers and members of parliamentarian of the government, they know very well about that. He took all bad decisions. Because of his bad decisions, wrong decisions, we have faced such a collapse of this economy and such a tragedy in our country. And that is a failure of Basil Rajapaksa's career.
Mr. Herath, I want to drag your attention to what happened on the 9th of May this year, one of the darkest days in the Sri Lankan history. Many individuals were deemed suspects in this case. One of them was a strongman, Johnston Fernando, of the then cabinet as well. Interestingly, some of the members who were arrested based on the video footage and so on and so forth were arrested, remanded. But Johnston Fernando got it easy. He surrendered and then he was bailed out. How do you view this as a politician?
Yeah, that is the imbalance of the law. That's why the people and especially the youth are fighting, because they know very well there is no balance of the law. Johnson, first of all, the court has given an order to arrest him, and he appealed it, I think, to the Supreme Court, to Appeal Court. And before that decision came, he was surrendered and he was given bail. It is not just, we cannot justify it. That's why so many youths are fighting for the rule of law in our country.
Thank you very much, Vijay Herath, Member of Parliament of the National People's Power. I now move attention to Mr. Kesaralal Gunasekara, former Member of Parliament, now representing the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Mr. Gunasekara, somewhat you can understand the politics in SLPP, somewhat you can understand the politics in the SJB, you can definitely understand the politics in the NPP, but it's difficult to understand the politics in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
Oh, I see.
Why is that? It's a daunting task.
That's what
You
politics,
cannot read the president of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party's mentality. Why is that?
Why do you say that?
I will tell you a good example. You had Mahinda Amaravira, Nimal Siripal de Silva, Susil Premajayanta. SLFP members or SLPP members?
Mahinda Amaravira and Nimal Siripala Silva were
SLFP members. So when they crossed over,
not crossed over, I wouldn't call it crossed over.
They pledged their allegiance to the interim government.
Yeah.
Then the talk
that was requested.
Excuse me.
That was requested by the president.
That was requested by the president with the nod of President Maithripala Sirisena.
No. That was requested by the president. I said.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa requested Mahinda Amaravira and Nimal Siripal de Silva.
Requested from all parties.
No, I'm asking about these two individuals. Let's forget. I said no. I understand the politics in the SJB. I understand the politics in the SLPP. But what I don't understand is the politics in the SLFP. So I'm trying to figure that out. So Maithripala Sirisena said that they would be removed from their portfolios and their membership would be cancelled. But now they've taken a U-turn, no?
No, not that they have taken a U-turn. It was discussed at length, I should say, at the last Central Committee.
And?
But no firm decision was taken subsequently.
So now the problem is there are only 14 members of the SLFP in Parliament. 2 of them, if they leave, you all will be restricted to 12 members in Parliament. So then you all won't have a strength in the parliamentary system. So henceforth, President Maithripala Sirisena decided that he has to support these 2 people's appointment as members of cabinet.
No, the issue is not that. The issue is not that.
Make us cognizant. What's the issue?
The issue is not that. The issue is very simple. Once Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned from the post of PM, there was an offer which went to the SJB, and as well as I was told that even the JP, am I right, to consider accepting the post of Premier. Both parties came out with conditions, and there was nobody else to take that over. In that backdrop, Ranil Wickremesinghe opted to become the Prime Minister of the country. Once he decides to become the Prime Minister, the President back again appealed to people in the opposition, parties in the opposition, to take posts. Because the country has to run. You need the country to run. You can't just say, okay. Actually, I expected Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe to have discussions with the parties in the opposition before he took up the post. If he had done that, I think this wouldn't have come into this position. But nevertheless, he took up the post. He assumed the post of Prime Ministership, and then only he was trying to have discussions with the parties in the opposition.
And I agree with all this,
Yeah.
Mr. Gunasekara. What happened and what transpired, people know it's in the public domain.
Correct.
But when Shantha Bandar and Mr. Raghavan went to and accepted portfolios, you all immediately suspended their SLFP membership. Why didn't you all do it with Mahinda Amaravira and Nimal Siripala de Silva?
That's a good question. But actually, that was when during the original government of Mahinda Rajapaksa, not subsequently. It was before.
So when Maithripala Sirisena decides that Ranil Wickremesinghe is the most suitable Prime Minister of the country,
there was a
it's
change.
all okay.
No, there was a change. Whatever said and done, there was a change.
We all know, Mr. Gunasekara, there
was a change.
Yeah, Mr. Gunasekara, we all
Surely
know
you
that
must
there are no permanent friends or enemies in politics. I remember
Correct.
this being stated by Sarath Fonseca at the 2010 presidential elections at one of the Colombo hotels. His opening remark was, "Why did you start a relationship with Ranil Wickremesinghe as the common candidate from his political party?" I recollect Sarath Fonseca saying, "There are no permanent
Friends and
enemies and friends in politics." Now, subsequently, that thought has been boiled down to all the politicians right throughout since 2010. When something goes wrong, that is the first thing that they say. There are no permanent friends or permanent enemies in politics. My question is very simple to you, Mr. Gunasekara. The question is, membership of Mahinda Amaravira and Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva, who is the Vice President of the SLFP, when they went out from the political party, did they inform President Maithripala Sirisena that they are leaving?
That is a question that you have to ask Honorable Maithripala Sirisena. Not
Very easy, Mr. Gunasekara. You can't say that. Very easy to.
I'm sure. How can I answer that?
No,
question?
but did the central committee of the party knew? No, what went? No, did the central committee of the SLFP knew?
No, there were discussions earlier as to whether we were going to support or not.
No, that was
discussions.
Jayasekara came out and said we don't want to accept any portfolios under Maithripala
Discussions
and Ranil Wickremesinghe because they had a very bitter relationship between President Maithripala Sirisena and Ranil Wickremesinghe during the Yapalne government time.
Correct.
No secret at all. But my question is, did the central committee of the SLFP know that Mahinda Amaravira and Nimal Siripala de Silva, who is a vice president of the SLFP, are leaving and accepting portfolios?
What do you mean by the term leaving?
That's what I'm asking you.
I mean, they are not left, no?
They are in the SLFP.
They are still in the SLFP.
Wonderful. Anyway, what is this? That's the we don't understand. Mr.
As far as I'm concerned,
they are still members.
Have they disclosed that they have left the SLFP? No.
They have not said.
No.
But your political leadership had said that they won't.
Yes. He originally said, and he stuck to that as well. This was discussed at great length at the Central Committee as well. But then a final decision would be taken at the next meeting.
A U-turn.
Not a U-turn. Why do you call it a U-turn?
Not a U-turn.
This is politics, my dear. You have to understand.
U-turns.
You have to discuss issues, you have to manage issues, various things you have to do. That you need to understand.
I don't.
That's why I originally said
I don't want to even understand Sri Lankan politics, Mr. Gunasekara. It's going to be a strain on whatever I'm doing right now because it's very
but you
difficult
need to
to
understand at this juncture. In fact, I myself appealed at the Central Committee. I must tell you, I myself appealed. I said, for heaven's sake, go and take up posts because this government has to move. Somebody has to be there. You need a cabinet. You have a prime minister. You don't have a cabinet. You need a cabinet. So take. That's the only way.
No, what I don't understand is, Mr. Gunasekara, now, Mr. Nimal Siripal De Silva, who is now the minister in charge of aviation, he goes to Mattala airport. I think it was today or yesterday. He goes to the airport and says the cost of the airport for a month is 100 million Sri Lankan rupees to maintain this particular white elephant in question. And then he says now you have to take action to ensure that the situation is arrested. But little does Minister Nimal Siripal De Silva know that when the Hambantota Mattala International Airport was being built, he was in cabinet as well. He went for the opening as well. He was there at that event that happened with a lot of pomp and pageantry in Hambantota. Not only that, he was there when the Hambantota port deal also happened. So
They were ministers, yes.
yeah, he was a minister. He was a strongman of the cabinet. What is this double standards?
Well, the question is as to whether it is a double standard or speaking the truth, I don't know.
Double standards, Mr. Gunasekara.
Technically speaking the truth, I would say. I mean, you come with a proposal, you put it into operation, and subsequently you realize it's not a workable program or operation. Then you say, look here, this is wrong.
At what cost, Mr. Gunasekara? Look at the
I
people.
understand.
Look at the people today.
I understand.
It takes around
There are
8 to 9 hours to pump
I
fuel.
know.
You have to wait for gas. On certain days, in the morning, they realize, Litro announces that there are no gas cylinders in Sri Lanka. At what cost? At what cost? At the people's cost.
I know. I mean, this is why we are in this sad situation today, because of wrong decisions taken over a long period of time.
Right. What is the stand of the SLFP with regard to the 21st Amendment to the Constitution?
Well, originally when it was discussed, as far as the Central Committee was concerned, we were supportive in full with regard to the 21st Amendment to the Constitution. As to what changes, I don't know, has taken place subsequently. But that was the stand. And that was a stand, I think my Honorable Maitripala Sirisena himself said
Yes.
that he is in full support of the 21st Amendment to the Constitution.
Press release also.
Right. So I open the floor for questions. Today I'm only flanked with Shehan Ranathung, who is also the producer of Face the Nation, that does a lot of work behind the scenes. So Shehan,
thank you,
all yours.
I'd like to pose my first question to Minister Rajapaksa. Minister, the final draft of the 21st Amendment was to be discussed in Cabinet. Could you tell us what happened?
Today we discussed at the same time that there had been a request made by parties who are within the coalition government for them also to discuss this matter with the President, and we fix a time, that is day after tomorrow, the Thursday, 4 o'clock. After that discussion, that we decided the matter will be taken up for consideration by the Cabinet on the next Monday meeting.
But Mr. Vijay Teherat said that you all have submitted a proposal in question, and after subsequently there have been many discussions. So whatever proposal or draft that you all have given the NPP, is it the final draft?
As it is that what had been given to all the party leaders are the draft that is pending in the Cabinet. Now there can be some other changes, that is why we did not pass it yet.
But Minister Rajapaksa, I'm trying to figure out, when we speak about the 21st Amendment to the Constitution, we very well know that the 21st Amendment to the Constitution was initially tabled as a private member's bill.
Correct.
By SJB parliamentarian Ranjit Bandara. And then you brought in a amendment called the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. So what are we looking at right now? Are we looking at the 21st Amendment to the Constitution, which has been gazetted already, or are we looking at the 21st Amendment that you brought in as a 22nd Amendment to the Constitution? What is it that we are looking at?
The 22nd Amendment that I proposed, that was gazetted. At that time I brought it as a private member bill. Subsequently, when I became a minister, I presented it as a government bill. Now it will be numbered as 22nd because 21 it has already been gazetted. In the 22nd Amendment, basically what I had inserted into the private member bill is the same contents are there. In the meantime, after the discussions of all the political parties and other stakeholders, that there are certain changes that we have done. We could not approve it because still that there are parties who need to make some representations. That is why that we had to fix it for that Thursday meeting.
So, Mr. Rajapaksa, you went on to say that if the executive presidency is abolished, there will be anarchy in the country.
Yes, that is because this 1978 constitution has been based on the executive presidency. Executive presidency has the link to everything. And there is an opinion expressed by the Supreme Court also in 2003. The President is not empowered to delegate the portfolio of defense to a third party because that he is the commander-in-chief, and Article 4 says the executive powers on behalf of the people shall be exercised by the President, and that includes the defense of Sri Lanka. Due to all those reasons, what I feel is, I think the most of the political observers also of the view, if you have to go for a total abolition, then there has to be, in any event there has to be a referendum. If it is for a total abolition, the best course of action is to go for a new constitution.
20th Amendment to the Constitution, Mr. Rajapaksa, you voted in which side?
I voted for it.
You were very critical of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution.
Yes, I could.
And then you took a complete U-turn and went ahead and voted.
No, that is not a U-turn. That is your understanding that I took a decision that is correct. You know, when the 20th Amendment was introduced, that I am the first person who wrote to the President and I asked for a time to discuss it. Then I made 10 demands. Then, in fact, that I did the job of the opposition. Then we went and discussed. Out of 10 demands, then he agreed for 7. For example, if you want to know, it says that the accounts of the President's office or accounts of the Prime Minister's office need not be audited, something like that. There were 7 demands that he totally agreed with us.
So you were with the group Udayagamampila, yourself, Vasudevan Anayakara, Professor Sivita.
No, I will come to that.
Yeah.
Then out of 10 demands I made, that he agreed for 7. Then 2 demands that we compromised. We came in between. Like, for example, in the original bill it says the President can dissolve the Parliament 1 year after the first sittings of the Parliament at any time without assigning any reason. Then as a compromise, then he agreed to go up to 2 years and 2.5 years. Then the 10th one was the dual citizenship issue, that he did not compromise. Then we together, 20 members together with Vasudevan Anayakara, Udayagamampila, Vimal Veeravansan, we went and met the President, and we had a lengthy discussions. After that, he gave an undertaking that he was quite certain within 1 year the new constitution, which is being drafted by an expert panel, will be brought into the Parliament. That he ensured that that there won't be any possibility of dual citizens of coming to the Parliament. On that basis, we voted for it.
He lied to you all.
And also that there was another reasons.
He lied to you all. The president lied to you because such a constitutional amendment didn't come into play.
Yes. And also at that time, you know, the president was elected in November in the previous year, and without a parliament that he was continuing for about 9 months, and we went for the general election, and I also contested for the Colombo district. And during that period, that the people were quite happy with the functions of the government, especially the president. That is why people gave 2/3 power to the SLPP. I was one of them who contested and was elected. Then I also discussed with the people that who supported and who voted for me, and they also of the view that if I go for a confrontation that soon after the government was established, and since they had some, you know, the hope that this president will do a very good job for the prosperity of the country, then I also got stuck as to, you know, what decisions I should take. Then therefore I didn't want to have an allegation that I am the one that who obstructed all these good things. The secondly, that I realized whether I voted for or not, that there were some MPs from other different parties that who are going to vote for it.
Yeah, but don't you regret that decision?
I think repeated it all more than 10 times that I regretted for it.
So talking
not
about
now, not now, that's long ago.
Yeah, but talking about the 1978 constitution, you said that there would be a state of anarchy because of the fact that there are constitution provisions mentioned in in the constitution itself. But if you look at it, the politicization of the public service, we saw the manner in which the Inspector General of Police's recent statement stating that majority of the OICs that have been appointed to their positions are political appointees. Given that fact, don't you strongly believe, Mr. Rajapaksa, that there needs to be the abolishment of the executive presidency in full in Sri Lanka?
No, that is not a bad idea. I also will support depending on the views of the people, because if you have to go for a constitution of that nature, you will have to get the approval from a referendum. But that is why, you know, we knew that's what kind of political involvement is there, or interference is there on the police. That is why in the 19th Amendment, we introduced this the National Police Commission as an independent commission. But it was completely diluted by the 20th Amendment. As a result of that, the Inspector General of Police also had some excuse as to why that he could not prevent some of the crimes being committed. Now, that is why that we say in the 21st Amendment that we will have to have some provisions to make their independence rather stronger.
Minister Rajapaksa, I'm just jumping on what you just said. So you said based on the views of the people. Would you agree that it is the views of the people that brought the 21st Amendment onto the table to start with? Is it not the protests and the public outcry that after all resulted in the Prime Minister resigning and the cabinet being changed? Therefore, was it not the will of the people that a 21st Amendment even come into the picture?
No, that was the will of the people as well as of ours. You may recall, before people got onto the road, I presented a resolution to the Parliament seeking to form a national government with the participation of all the parties in the Parliament. And that was neglected, though that nobody took notice of it. When people got onto the road, then all the people got realized that there is something going wrong. Then at that time, immediately after that, we suggested, on my own I suggested that there has to be a constitutional change. During that period, as I told you, that we got about another 40 members who became independent, together with me about 41. And I drafted on behalf of the 41 members who became independent.
The reason I asked the question, Minister, is because it feels like, although the will of the people or the protest outcry of the people was for the abolishment of the executive presidency, and you still see people protesting and calling for the president to resign and for his powers to be abolished. The 21st Amendment, as we've already heard, is being watered down, talking about the 19 minus and so on. So then the question is this an accurate representation of what the public want?
You know, that's we also read the minds of the people, general public. While we were discussing with the President to bring forward this 21st Amendment, that is, in principle, all the party leaders agreed that it has to be in the form of the 19th Amendment. If it goes outside that, there can be other obstacles, like the Supreme Court can say you'll have to go for a referendum and things like that. At the same time, we suggested the President that it's high time. Now there has been agitation more than now 3 decades for the abolition of this executive presidency. And we also have experienced some, that's the repercussions as a result of maintaining this executive presidency. Then when we proposed that this also has to be abolished, then he agreed that it has to be done in 2 stages. The first thing, you better bring this 21st Amendment. Once it is passed, that we can resort to some system, the model as to how that we can change the entire system. At that stage, I suggested soon after this, we will appoint a parliamentary select committee. Then there is a constitution draft already made by an expert panel. In addition to that, during the previous government, we also appointed a constitutional assembly. In that also there are 6 reports prepared for the purpose of enacting a new constitution, that we can take into consideration all those materials together with the views of the people. We will have to give hearing to the people, and that I hope we may be able to do it.
When are you looking at, when is the deadline to pass 21st Amendment to the Constitution? Because there is, sometimes you hear President Gotabaya Rajapaksa being in favor of for bringing forth the 21st Amendment to the Constitution. Then there are mixed signals. You see the recent interview given by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to international media as well, saying that he's also very optimistic about the 21st Amendment to the Constitution. What is the deadline?
No, this is a teamwork. That if it is a matter that I can do my alone, then I can give that kind of fixed time period. Here by knowing the pulse of the members of the cabinet, there is a possibility that this might be approved in the next cabinet meeting. In that context, that I hope we will be able to do it within next 6 weeks time. That is
6 weeks.
6 weeks time. That is my target.
Right. So, Mr. Herath, why is it important for the Parliament to have more control and create transparency and accountability and stability within the current framework that we're talking about, the 21st Amendment to the Constitution? Why must the Parliament have these powers?
I think if one person will take all decisions, it will be harmful. He most probably his or her personal decisions may be incorrect. If there is a group, we can take good decisions with the support of others. That's why I think Parliament is the best place to take decisions on behalf of the people. Otherwise, for example, the President has taken a decision abolish importing fertilizer, organic, not chemical fertilizer. Then what has happened to the country? The country has faced so many difficulties because of one person's decision. If Parliament had such a right, the Parliament could have had a meeting and discussions with others, then such a situation has not arisen. That's the example. Therefore, I think if the Parliament has more powers to take decisions, it is better than executive President's decision.
Right. So, Mr. Herath, why I'm posing this question to you is, we saw the manner in which the recent press conference that was convened by Member of Parliament and former Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa, when he was posed a question about the fact that why is the ball being passed from pillar to post, he says the ball is not in his court, and he says the people should be held responsible for the government in power. How do you view this?
Actually, people has given the SLPP government 2/3 majority power and executive powers, and using that 2/3 majority power in the parliament, they passed 20th Amendment, and after passing the 20th Amendment, President obtained so many powers, and Basil Rajapaksa also had a chance to enter the parliament because of that dual citizen, removing that dual citizen clause. People also must responsible some extent, but people had not voted Basil Rajapaksa. People voted to the SLPP government, SLPP party, but using that vote base, SLP party nominated Basil Rajapaksa as a nationalist MP, then because of the people's vote.
Right. Mr. Herath, sometimes I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Now, this is not the first time that Basil Rajapaksa is entering parliament like this. We saw this happening in 2006 and 2007 as well. 2007. His name was not in the nationalist members. He took a backdoor entrance, and then he came to power as well. And individuals like Mr. Vijayas Rajapaksa and many individuals, right after 2011, 2012, 2013, criticized his actions and having a lot of control in the government as well. So when you look at all this, what is the point of announcing the names of individuals and not having them represented in parliament subsequently?
Yes, actually, Basil Rajapaksa entered to the parliament in 2007 after death of the Muslim member of parliament, SLMC. I can't remember his name.
That is Mr. Attaullah's party.
Attaullah's party, not
national member from Attaullah's
not
party.
SLMC.
Not SLMC.
And before that, he was the advisor to the president, Mahinda Rajapaksa. I checked his Wikipedia, and he has been in parliament 3 years up to 2010, and 2010 he was elected from Gampaha district, and after that he became as a Minister of Economic Development, and last election 2020 he was not appointed. He was appointed as a nationalist MP, but he was the key person who controlled the SLPP political party and the SLPP government. Not only the SLPP government, the Rajapaksa government, Mahinda Rajapaksa government, that is not SLPP, it's an alliance. He must responsible the collapse of the economy, because he was the advisor to Mahinda Rajapaksa, then president, and after that he became as a president of Economic Development Task Force, which was appointed by the Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and he was the person who has been conducted our whole economy for about 2 decades. Therefore, he must responsible the collapse of this economy.
Right.
But people now, what can do? What can we do? We have no any action against him. He can leave from country. What is the situation? It is an unfortunate situation.
So I want to get back to Mr. Jayasuriya. Mr. Jayasuriya, right now the country needs a new amendment. Right now, as you said before, the political stability could be drawn by bringing in a very powerful 21st Amendment to the Constitution. Do you think the President and the Prime Minister are genuine in their efforts? Or is it just a farce, just to please the public, please the Aragalaya people, please everyone around them, stating that they're bringing some change and 6 weeks from now there will be a 21st Amendment to the Constitution? There is no question about that. But isn't this a farce, or how do you view the genuineness of the President and the Prime Minister?
You know, as far as the judicial system is concerned, there is a saying that goes as, justice should not only be done, it should manifestly appear to have been done. I think the same thing can be applied even with regard to this question that you asked me, with the relationship and then what they ought to do and what they are doing and sort of. But looking at the current situation, whilst I say and emphasize that the constitutional amendment bringing back the 19th Amendment is of paramount and imperative importance, I also must say that with regard to something also very important, the rule of law. Rule of law, is there rule of law in this country? When you are talking about, this topic is about current affairs. Where is rule of law? Does it apply to all people equally? Now look at the Aragalaya. The Aragalaya, that incident that took place on the 9th, it was seen that people who got out of temple trees and they first went to Maina Gogama, that is right in front of the temple trees across the Gaul Road, and then destroyed that. Didn't the police see this? They saw it. They had walkie-talkies and all the communication equipment. Then they were starting to move from there to Gaul Face. Now in that situation, that was on the 9th. 8th, the IGP has sent a letter to Deshabandhu Tenakon to stop this. There is going to be a march from after this meeting towards Gotagogama. Stop this at any cost, and there is going to be a clash. What happened? There were footage, video footage, it was moving out in the social media. They were telling the people at the Aragalaya, don't worry, I will not allow them to move on, let us from the Gaul Face roundabout. So he allowed them to go. Now when he was represented by counsel in the magistrate's court in Fort, I was there present, it was said, not only that, there was also, it was told that the Secretary of the Ministry of Interior, Jagadallis, has given him a call and not to attack the marchers coming from temple trees. They didn't do that. Then the President asked him to stop it and then open fire with regard to from the tear gas and also water cannons. It was not done. So time and again, the learned magistrate has given the instructions to the CID. The council have been howling and praying for it. He is the man behind. He is the man who allowed this mayhem to be caused. Why is it not happening? We are talking about the police commission little while ago, which is now ineffective. Right? He is not being taken into custody. He should be behind bars before everyone else. He is the man. He is not the master brain, but he is the one who carried out the instructions given by the master brain, whoever was there behind.
Yeah, so can I, with your permission, Mr. Jayasuri, can I pose a question to the new Minister of Justice? Now that's a fair enough argument, isn't it, Mr. Rajapaksa? Because where is action? Because we saw the manner in which when the French airline, which was under contention, you all immediately took action as the Minister of Justice. The Russian Aeroflot plane. You all immediately took action. There was concrete evidence. You all interdicted an official attached to the court as well. So immediately action was taken. But in a situation like this,
you know that soon after, I think within 2 or 3 days time after I assumed my duties, since the subject matter comes within the purview of the ministry in charge of the police, so Tiranalas, both together with him, we summoned the Inspector General of Police, and also the Attorney General also was present. Then we inquired about this thing and we gave specific instructions to IGP to take legal action irrespective of the party concerned, that whoever involved in any kind of criminal activity, that they should take action.
No, we are talking about DIG Deshabandhu Tendulkar.
That's right.
Senior DIG.
I am referring to that one.
Yeah.
Then
Names of political parties. That's what. No, man. Okay.
Yes. Then he informed us that he has entrusted the whole matter to be inquired by an independent group, the CID, and they are proceeding with the matters. And of course, when they report matters, it is up to the judges. I being the Minister of Justice, I cannot interfere into the affairs of the court, that I have no that kind of power, but I can make laws and rules, regulation, what is required for the administration of justice. In addition to that, I will have to provide all the infrastructure facilities, and also that we can advise the police IGP to take legal action. Then it is for them to take legal action now, but if there is any failure on the part of the police, of course the judges are empowered to give any directions for the police to take action.
Jayasir, are you content with that answer?
No, I am not putting the blame on Mr. Vijay Rajapaksa because he is the Minister of Justice. But this is a matter that comes under the Minister of Interior, the police, and the government, the head of the government, the defense forces, the Minister of Defense. I mean, he is all powerful. What is happening? Even his orders were not carried out by this blessed Deshabandhu Tendulkar. That is why that all that mayhem took place, not only there, in the rest of the country. The man is all powerful. He is all powerful. Right? He is behind.
Not even
the Attorney General. The Attorney General gave instruction to the IGP to transfer him out. He couldn't do that. He said, I have no power to transfer him out. But we told court, he has no power to transfer him out, but he has the power to arrest him. He should be arrested and he should be behind bars. But that was not done either. Where are we heading? So do people, international community, see that there is rule of law in this country? Now, I also heard the other thing, what the people are now clamoring about. Now, I saw the people who really started and pioneered this Aragale, that's a Kolonna, young men and women who were there. They started with the sound of the kitchen. People don't have food to eat. We are when you are passing on the Gold Road, you see miles and miles of fuel queues, one for the three-wheelers, one for the buses, another one at the same petrol shed. Where are we heading? Now, even I have to come in a different vehicle because my petrol is also going down. You won't be able to come. There won't be buses. Then look at the situation. Now, today we are talking about a situation where there is no tourism. Foreign tourists coming to the country, there is no, it's not happening. Whatever it is, the Prime Minister has said, no, they should not be coming. If they come, they must be ready to go and hold a placard at the Gota Gogam. So anyway, so there is no tourism from the local tourists going to outstations. People, now, tomorrow is Poson. I don't know how many people can go to Anuradhapura, which is a normal ritual, and then do their normal prayers at the Atapasthana, like what it happened at years ago at Bhintale. It can't happen. All those small hotels are dried up. They have no way to live. I have been talking to so many companies, small timers. Some companies 50, 40, 50 people, 60 people working. They have no work. They are all retrenched. They are not getting a salary. We are talking about a situation where the prices are going up, escalating, skyrocketing. What is happening? People don't have rice. Price has gone up by from 80 rupees now. It is now 250 rupees. Three times. Egg is now 50 bucks. Chicken is 1,200. Saleh is 800 rupees. Look at the vegetable prices. Now, in that situation, the bread price has gone up from maybe 50, 60 rupees to 180 bucks. How can people eat? Even in that situation, with such high cost of living, people don't get a salary at all. People don't get a salary at all. Who is now talking about this? Now, I heard a little while ago, Mr. Nimal Siripal has realized maybe a couple of years to realize that Ambantota airport is a dead duck, white elephant. He has taken many years to realize that. And I'm told, we just heard to say that there is politics. If any dirty thing to be done in this country and to call it politics, I'm appalled. I'm appalled by that kind of comment. For all the politicians to do all the dirty things in the name of the country and the society, and then turn around and say that is politics. They must be hounded out. They must be made to answer. They must be made to be responsible. Look at what has been done, the mayhem that has been done. Why are we facing this situation today? Central bank, that's a good norm. That's a good norm. When people are asking, people like Mr. Harsha De Silva, so many other people, the economists, everyone is howling and then screaming and then saying, please go back to the lenders and then reschedule our loans. We went in like big guns and settled $1 billion loan, another $500 million loan. Or the $7.5 billion that was in the Reserve Bank was depleted to zero now to zero. Now what has happened? Then when they were doing that, the consumption remained to be the same. As a result of which the inflation went up. Then what happened was the Hawala market.
Mr. Gunasekara, just give me a second. You spoke about politics. Mr. Gunasekara, when I posed the question before, said it's all politics. So I want to pose this very question that Mr. Gunasekara is saying. You can't blame it on. Ms. Jayasuriya said you can't blame it on politics alone, can you, Mr. Gunasekara?
No, I don't blame it on politics.
But you said so in your opening remarks.
I mean, I said this is politics. You've got to understand what is wrong is wrong. Whether you say it wrong in 2020 or whether you say it wrong in 2020, it's the same thing. What is wrong is wrong. Maybe Nimal Siripala De Silva, the minister, thought fit to come out and say, look here, this is a white elephant. Maybe
now, after so many years.
I don't know. As far as we are concerned, we have always said that the Hambantota port and Hambantota airport were both failures.
Can I intervene for a moment?
Yeah.
That is for your information. In fact, when the President Mahinda Rajapaksa decided to build an international airport in Mattala, I went and pleaded with him several occasions. I said, please don't do it. If we need a second international airport, that we have only one place to be built, that is Sigiriya. The land had been already identified during Mrs. Bandaranaike's period. The land was allocated because Hambantota is an isolated area where there is no any airlines going on. But if you put up this one in Sigiriya, there are 8 international airports around: Colombo, Male, Trichy, Trivandrum, Bangalore, Chennai, likewise. In fact, that if we built instead of Mattala in Sigiriya, I think that should have been the best airport by this time. That should have been developed much more than Katunayaka. But he didn't want to listen to our advice at that time. Now we are paying for price.
Let's continue with my answer. Can I?
Yeah.
And then what has happened? Then the gap between the official rate and the Hawala rate widened to about 60-70 rupees. So the usual influx of the inward remittances from about 7.5 billion went down to about 2 billion. We lost about another 5 billion there. With which, if we were getting that, we would have been able to fund this fuel, and then we would not have had this problem. So now we can put it back on track. We are now faced with this. We are now grappling with this situation. We just can't get out of it. We are having a domino effect of one after another and another and another. We just can't get out of it. It's in a cycle. We have got caught to this cycle, and we have no answer to it. So the only way at this moment of time, if we are to head for a better future, to put this behind and then move forward, I think the only way, the only answer, there's only one answer: there should be a general election. With a fresh mandate, a new party, a new government should start off and then move this country ahead.
Mr. Gunasekara, general election right now, what are your thoughts?
Well, the question is, as far as I am concerned, I fundamentally feel that we need to put the house in order before we go for an election. That's the only way. We need whatever, whether you think that it is possible after a general election, the same thing can be done now also. Whatever that you can achieve after election should be achievable even now. The question is, are we prepared? I expect a plan of action by the Honorable Prime Minister, but so far it has not come. I hope it comes. There has to be a plan of action. One on diesel, petrol and gas. What is the plan of action? Because you got to understand, people on the streets, people on the roads, queuing for various things. This can't go on. I mean, I'm telling you, as far as I see it, I said it 6 months back that the dollar will hit the 450 mark. Don't ever make a mistake on that. It can still go. It can still go. This is where we are today. So unless somebody comes out now, number one, I must tell you, when the Honourable Prime Minister took up the post, he said, look here, my first priority is 3 meals, solve the petrol, diesel and gas issue.
Now it's 2 meals.
What he himself comes and says, look here, we'll have to come down to 2 meals. I mean, that is not what he said. But he has to buckle up. Huh? I'm telling you, he needs to, and we need to support him. Huh? Don't ever let him give the excuse and say, look here, you all never said, people did not support me. So we need to support him. As to whether he comes out with he has to come out with a plan of action, because this country can't go on like this. Now, just imagine, the other day I listened to the governor of the central bank saying that on this, he's trying to save on this. Pardon?
It's only 1 month since Ranil Wickremesinghe has been appointed as the Prime Minister.
I know. But still he has not come out with a plan of action. That is exactly what the world wants. Huh? There are so many things now. We have to put systems in order. And unless we put the systems in order, IMF, all these agencies are not going to help us. Huh?
Rome was not built in a day.
Yeah, I know.
It took some time.
I know. But the question is,
don't you think you have to give him some time and space?
No, time. That's why I said no, support him. I have been saying it right throughout. Huh? Even at the Central Committee of the Slfp, I said support him. I said it because I feel it's not that I fully understand him. Huh? I don't. But I said support him because he has taken over.
Is Ranil Wickremesinghe the man who can take us through?
That is left to be seen. But he has taken the job. Let's support him. Everybody, irrespective of party, support him.
I think there is no argument on that. Everyone is content that he must be supported. There is no issue on that.
Right. So, Mr. Vijayarath, your thoughts about holding an election now. Now, if there is an election now, it would be definitely a very good advantage for the NPP-led JVP, isn't it? And you're asking or demanding for election now, isn't that a little bit selfish?
No, that is not the main reason. Actually, we all know there is an economic crisis in our country. Because of that economic crisis, there is a political crisis. How can we solve this political crisis? Without solving this political crisis, we cannot obtain a real answer to the economic crisis. That's why we are saying there should be an election. If we refer to the Mahanayaka Thero, they also proposed 6-month multi-party government, and after that there should be an election. The Lawyers Association, Bar Association also proposed 15-month
maximum 15 months.
Maximum 15.
6 months to 15 months.
Yeah, month multi-party government. Then after that, there should be an election. And if you consider the civil administration's union, they also sent a proposal setting up a multi-party government for a 6-month period. Then after that, there should be an election. Without holding an election, we cannot solve the economic political crisis. That's why we are saying we are demanding for an election, not for getting advantage to the NPP or JVP. People will decide who will be the next government. Then that future government can obtain some economic assistance from the outside international countries, foreign countries.
So, Mr. Herath, then it can be argued that, however, now all this is time, 6 months and so on, but the ground situation is very serious. As we know, we've already touched on it and we all see it. There's a crisis on multiple fronts. Now, the IMF team, they're going to be visiting Sri Lanka next week, and they're going to come and assess the situation on the ground. Now, you can always say we need to show the IMF
already there.
They need to see positive indications, positive signs, so that they can then assist Sri Lanka.
Yes, IMF also has said earlier, the IMF also said there must be a political stability. Without political stability, how can we support financially? They also said that, and G8 countries also ask for political stability. The IMF process can be continued, but within a short period we can hold a election. Some people are saying that we have no enough money for the election. Actually, we need not dollars, we need only rupees. If we consider the last election, 2020, we spent only 573 crores rupees. Out of that amount, 350 crores spent only for the salaries and extra payments for the government officers. You know very well, there are so many workshops are going on before the election. I think we can use some TV corporations, TV channels, and we can teach how to conduct the election. Then we can reduce that amount also, and 156 crores spent to the police department. I think it is also need not, we can reduce it, and using 300 crores we can hold the election in future within 3 months or 4 months. Only 7 weeks, we want only 7 weeks. Then there will be a political stability.
Mr. Herath has a point, and also Mr. Gunasekar is saying that we have to call for immediate elections and make sure that you get a mandate from the public over this. We saw the manner in which in 2020, when there was a lot of COVID patients being reported in Sri Lanka, the Gotabaya Rajapaksa administration went ahead and held an election. And why not now is the question.
This is my personal view. With all these predicaments, I don't think that the environment is conducive for a general election. But certainly there is a very high displeasure of the people about the existing parliament, and therefore that is also need. What I feel is, until that we stabilize up to a certain extent, and until that we resolve the burning issues, the economic crisis, we cannot go for an election, much more than the questions of money. That environment is not ready, the mentality of the people are not ready. On the other hand, after learning bitter lessons with the existing politicians and the political parties, if any youngsters or new groups or professionals, if they need a time to get organized, to have organized their political campaigns or movements, otherwise that they may not be able to go for a big change. Otherwise the same people will be elected again.
Yeah, so we always talk about a shift in mindset,
That's right.
Mr. Rajapaksa. So I saw the manner in which when we heard the news that Dhammika Perera is going to be appointed through the national list, it came with mixed feelings as far as the public is concerned. Mr. Jayasuriya said that he saw it as a positive. Some said they see it as a negative. But when Dhammika Perera accepted the party membership of the SLPP, didn't that show that Sri Lankan politics still plays a big role? Party politics plays a big role in the political culture in Sri Lanka, and that is sad, isn't it?
No, that is why I said, in fact, that there are few political parties existing. In addition to that, the demands and the dreams of the younger generation is somewhat different, and therefore that they must be having a better opportunity for themselves to get ready for an elections. I hope that if in the event that they come and thinking on that, we all know that the younger generation thinks quite differently than ours. I think that they may be able to change this system. That is why I said that they need some time. You may recall even prelates at the beginning made a request that we must establish an interim government with the participation of all the political parties. That's multi-party government. Interim period means that is to be limited for a particular period. If we go for an election at the moment, like in Pakistan, that's IMF might say that there is no political stability in your country, you go and have your election. Till then we can't look into this matter. Once the election is over, when the politically you are established, that we will consider your application or request. And we also might will have to face to that kind of consequences.
But the president has already said that he won't leave as a failed president.
Yeah, that he has a right to say so, because that the people trusted him to such a great extent, and that is why that he got a large number of votes. And halfway through, now he has categorically admitted certain mistakes that he did. In number one, the tax cut, the tax concession given to the high earners. Then number two, that his fertilizer policy. Now he has determined, according to his speech, that he is determined to rectify those things, and also that is his, I think his determination that he should not be added as a failed politicians, and therefore that he will take actions.
So individuals like Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, Harin Fernando, Manoj Nanayakara, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has all come to make sure that the president pass.
No, we came all to pass the country. Without that his authority, that there is no way for any of us to get involved in politics.
Right, so
not especially to hold the portfolios.
Right, so we have a question from one of our viewers, Mr. Rajapaksa, whether you are willing to change Article 52 of the Constitution and not give power to ministers to direct and control secretaries, and only powers to give policy directions.
Yes, there is a debate going on. In fact, that I changed one of the sub-articles where it says that when the minister is seized, then the secretary also seized, and he is losing power, he cannot function. That part I have changed. With regard to the other matter, of course, that the debate is going on.
It has to come subsequently. Yeah.
Yes, in my case, you know that it is not a matter that I have to decide on my own. Now I am struggling to get the consent of all the others about in the parliament itself. Over 40 political parties.
Minister, you have also been dreaming for this post as Minister of Justice.
Yes.
Isn't it?
I am reading.
You have been dreaming to get this post of Minister of Justice as well. In your opening remarks, you said...
No, that is not correct. That I was not dreaming at all.
Yeah, but you said that if there was not a suitable portfolio for you, you won't take it.
Why should I take?
But now you have got...
No, even if you take an employment, if it is not suitable...
No, but now you have got your job now, Mr.
I have got my job. If it can be passed with my votes, that I will make the best constitution suitable for all the people. But here I have only one vote. I'll have to get 150 votes.
You have one vote. Look at Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. One vote. He is today the Prime Minister of the country.
Yes.
The people who got 6.9 million votes are living in bunkers.
No, but with all that, however much that he has the power as the Prime Minister or even the President, with his vote he can't get any bill passed in the Parliament. No. If you have to pass a bill in the Parliament, if it is a constitutional amendment, you need 150. And therefore, that's, I am also in a struggle, because if one party is agreeable for one clause, the other party is not agreeable. I think if you get involved in this process, you will realize what a difficult job that I am doing. It's a Herculean task.
No, but Minister Rajapaksa now, right after Mr. Sumandaran was here on the show a few weeks back, he was saying that when they wanted to debate about President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to show some dissent in Parliament, all the MPs voted against that bill. They said that they didn't want to discuss about it. And in fact, M.S. Sumandaran went on to reprimand Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and Parliament over that as well. So the Parliament itself is not united. Don't you think so?
No, if the parliament is united, that my job is very easy, no? Then I will put the draft and they will raise their hands. The job is over. On that Mr. Sumanthira's matter, the parliament was divided on some legal issue, where the constitution says that if you have to discuss or criticize or whatever you want to do about the conduct of the president, constitution says that you cannot do it unless that there is a impeachment. That similarly you cannot discuss about any matter, any conduct of any judge of the court unless that there is a proper motion to impeach him. And that is how that, because that is due to the constitutional provisions that was divided.
Mr. Rajapaksa, the parliament could not even agree on Deputy Speaker Rohini Kavaratna's candidature to that particular post in question. Even that, the parliament was divided.
Yeah, that is why that the people have this anger and that is why they are complaining.
Right. So we have a question for you, Mr. Rajapaksa, from one of our viewers. By President Gotabaya Rajapaksa still remaining in the position as the president, is he still not making a mistake?
I don't think that anybody can answer to that question. In future, I do not know what the decision he will take. It's a hypothetical question.
So, Minister Herath, interestingly, we see the manner in which how the JVP or the NPP now, with Andrakumar Dissanayake as your leader right now, are looking to, this probably is one of the best chances for the NPP to gain a considerable number of parliamentary seats, and probably hypothetically any political party wishes to form their own government, own cabinet. What is the way forward that you all are looking at as the NPP right now? What would you all do differently than Ranil Wickremesinghe? Because you all said, your leader once said, if you all had the support of all political parties, that he is willing to accept the post of Prime Minister as well. So now you all have a different Prime Minister. You all don't, do you all support him or you all don't support him?
No, we don't support.
You all don't support Ranil Wickremesinghe as the Prime Minister. If that case be the casing point right now that we're talking about, what difference would you all brought into the table?
You are talking about
what would you all do differently?
Actually, first of all, we will bring dollars from outside.
How?
So
Bringing
many
dollars
Sri
from
Lankans
outside, Mr. Herath, is not an easy task.
so many Sri Lankans are working in outside, abroad. Altogether, I think 2 million Sri Lankans are working. They have not sent their dollars to Sri Lanka during last year. We checked the figures from June in 2021 to up to April in 2022. The loss of foreign remittances were $3,500 million. They did not send that money because of the Rajapaksa regime. They categorically said that we are not sending our money to the Rajapaksa government.
How confident are you that the people will start sending money if Lal Kant is appointed as a Prime Minister?
No, actually, he also can hold that post, because Basil Rajapaksa and Mangala Samaraveera, they were the former Prime Ministers of Finance. Therefore, Lal Kant also can hold that post. Anyway, whoever the Minister of Finance from our party, actually we will start uncorrupted government. Then people have a faith on us. Then sure, 100% sure, those workers who are living in outside, they send money to the country, not to the government, to the country. That is the first step.
So are you trying to say, Mr. Herath, that people are not sending money right now through the regular channels or through the banking system in Sri Lanka at the moment because the government in power is corrupt?
It is one reason. There is other reason, because of the decision of the Ajit Kumar Cabral. He took a decision, hold the exchange rate at the one point. That is the other reason. The main reason was that because of the corrupt ruling.
So, Mr. Herat, one of your former parliamentarians, Surin Handunati, was the COPE committee chairman, and Mr. Vijayadas Rajapaksa also was a one-time very well celebrated COPE committee chairman as well. Right now, we see a lot of allegations against individuals being brought to limelight in terms of the corrupt activities of certain institutions in Sri Lanka. We saw the manner in which how recently there was an issue with regard to the Ceylon, the SPC as well, Sri Lanka Pharmaceutical Corporation. Then we saw the manner in which how the Ceylon Electricity Board is under the hammer right now, Ceylon, the Sri Lanka Cricket Board, so on and so forth. But we only discuss about these matters. But why isn't that the COPE committee does not have the teeth to take legal action against individuals who have been corrupt in particular regimes? We discuss about this, we argue about it, but no action has been taken thus far. We've not heard a story.
Actually, according to the Constitution, COPE committee has no power to take action against those persons and institutions. COPE committee can investigate and prepare a report. Using that report, anybody can go before the court and take action.
Whose responsibility is that?
Government.
That's Attorney General's department.
Attorney General's department. Actually, I think the government, the cabinet must take a decision using that report to go before the court. For example, the central bank issue. COPE committee has prepared a report and submitted to the government, and President took a decision to appoint another task force and took a decision to go before the court. And for example, during his period, Insurance Corporation, Vasudeva Nanayakkara personally went before the court and took action against the Insurance Corporation.
Yeah,
can I just intervene into that one? As you said that, like in any other countries, that the COPE, they are called it as the Public Accounts Committee.
Yeah.
We are having two institutions, that COPE and COPA, because the Sri Lanka is a different type of country where there are too many government institutions. That is why that we have created two oversight committees. In other countries like the United Kingdom or maybe even India, when there is a report with certain recommendations, the government will have to take that very seriously. The normally governments, they take actions, but in our system, that's the government don't take so seriously. In 2007, I presented two reports in which that I disclosed to a magnitude of 300 billion, the worth of, that's the loss to the government. That was a country where that we had only 700 billion rupees annual revenue. But the government didn't take action. Thereafter, then for the first time, I presented a resolution to the parliament, and the whole house adopted my report as the parliament report, not as COPE report, as the parliamentary report. Then even with that one, when the government didn't take action, then I moved for another resolution that 16 transactions referred to in the COPE report must be sent to the Bribery Commission and a CID. Then the parliament adopted that also. Then we sent the report. We were waiting till they take action. They didn't take even any action. That is why that Vasudeva Nanayakkara as well as some of the trade unions of Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation, they went to court. Finally, the Supreme Court delivered two judgments. One is on Insurance Corporation and Sri Lanka Hospital. The other one is the LMS, Lanka Marine Services, where the land in the port had been given to a third party without having any consideration. The court delivered two judgments. That is where that's the former Secretary to the Treasury, P.B. Jayasundara, was sacked from that office and issued an order preventing him from accepting any portfolios, any positions in the public sector. But he told that everything had been reversed, all this political interference had created that kind of anarchy situation in the public sector.
We are in this mess right now because of our own actions, don't you think
Yes.
so?
There is recently there was another incident was happened. The chairman of the electricity
Yes,
board,
I was about
Mr.
to-
Ferdinand, he was resigned because of the CURB committee summon.
Yes. In fact, I was going to ask the minister, what is your comment on that? The former CEB chairman, in fact, he resigned today. That he said that the president told him that the Indian Prime Minister insisted that the wind power project be given to the Adani Group. What do you say to this, Minister?
No, I do not know the correctness of those things, but if it is as the chairman or any other person, that if he had made a statement to the court, that is, he is giving the statement evidence to the parliament, then he must take the responsibility.
But if they keep on saying something and then saying that they are sorry because they had to say it because of duress, that those statements cannot be accepted.
No, that's because you are giving all these statement on oath before the COP and the PAC. That all statement one makes is on oath. Therefore, that is a violation of the parliamentary privileges.
Right. So, Mr. Rajapaksa, getting back to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution now. I, being a journalist, have not received the 21st Amendment to the Constitution that you all have drafted. Probably it was circulated amongst the political party leaders, but Mr. Herathol said that they have not been able to get the final draft. I'm not independently verifying that in any way. But tell us a little bit of the contents that are in the 21st Amendment to the Constitution.
Basically that is in the form of the 19th Amendment, whereas
Now, what is different from the 19th Amendment to the Constitution? The 19th Amendment to the Constitution, the public know it.
The public know about that.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we have added certain other government officials like the governor of the central bank. With regard to the appointment of the governor of the central bank, the president has to get the approval of the Constitutional Council.
So not like the last time where Ranil Wickremesinghe can appoint his own person.
And also throughout.
But it is proposed to have all the members of the monetary board to be...
And yes, that's by association, and SJB has proposed the other members of the monetary board also.
Other than the ex-officio members.
Ex-officio. But that provision is there. In fact, that in 2002, there has been an amendment to the monetary law. In that one, that is included. Therefore, without the sanction of the Constitutional Council, that you cannot appoint the other members. That provision is there.
In terms of the removal of the Prime Minister, Article 47 has been amended, right?
That is the contentious issue. Still, that we are discussing.
So the final draft has not gone to the JVP?
No, the final draft means until it is approved by the cabinet,
Right.
it cannot be considered as the
Right.
final.
So let's talk about Article 47 on the removal of the Prime Minister.
That is the contentious issue that we discussed very seriously, and most of the parties wanted to remove that power completely. But since we have to get the support of the SLPP members, which is consisting of around 145 members at the moment, then we had to agree for some interim arrangements during the tenure of this parliament, that the power of the presidents to remain, that if he is of the opinion that the Prime Minister has lost the confidence of the members of the parliament, then he should have that power to remove. That is the compromise that we made. I don't think it is a good compromise, but we had no option. Finally we will have to get at least 150 votes.
But the SLPP had that 150 plus votes in Parliament, right? At one point, not anymore.
No, 150 are elected from SLPP. Now 41 members became independent, but still that they remain as members of the SLPP. Otherwise they can be removed.
Mr. Gracefully, if I might, to change the topic just slightly, this is...
Can I be on the same topic, and I'll give you an opportunity?
Okay.
And also the appointment of ministers and the allocation of subjects. You all have used the words in consultation with the Prime Minister, and consultation to be necessary with the words on the advice of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Why is that?
Yeah, in fact that there was some confusion even in the 19th Amendment when they went to the Supreme Court that certain provisions were not permitted and they ordered to go for referendum. Then we made some adjustment. At this juncture also we do not know what will be the view of the Supreme Court, but that there can be a lot of guidelines when the Supreme Court makes its determination on the 21st Amendment brought by the SJB. That's, those provisions are there in that also. In that context, we'll have to take them as a guideline. Most probably, they will deliver that order by the last date should be the Wednesday or Thursday. Then in my draft also we say the assigning the subjects and the appointment of the ministers, state ministers, deputy ministers, and also removal to be made on advice of the Prime Minister.
Right.
In the 20th Amendment it says if necessary, if the President thinks if it is necessary, in consultation with the Prime Minister. Now I have substituted the words that on advice means that is compulsory, not really directory. On that issue we again had to make some compromise during the tenure of this 9th Parliament that the President shall retain that power. That as it is, the provisions are there, that amendments are there, but we'll have to decide that finally only on Thursday.
So that means we will still have an executive president till.
In any event that you will have to have the executive presidency, it is not abolished.
No, because the executive presidential powers were pruned on the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, right, Mr. Jayasuriya? For a certain extent.
Not fully, not fully.
Yeah, not
only
fully, but on a certain extent. That's why for a certain extent. Are we going to see the same happening with the 21st Amendment to the Constitution as well?
No, even under the 19th Amendment, in certain clauses, it says in consultation.
Yeah.
And on few, on advice.
Yeah.
Now here that's in one formula, I have put in all the relevant sections commencing from 44 to 47 on advice. But that has been diluted to a certain extent when we say during the period of the present Parliament, that is in consultation.
Right.
If we can compromise and come to the, that get all the parties agreed on advice, I think that is the best. I am endeavoring to do it.
What about the financial management? Is there anything, any clauses related to that?
No, that regarding the financial amendment, in fact, that's the very important and very significant features we introduced was the establishment of the Procurement Commission and the National Audit Service Commission. The both commission had been repealed, abolished by the 20th Amendment. We have reintroduced both because the most of the corruptions of high magnitude are done during the that happen when they are entering into government contracts or in the bidding process. That is just to avoid that kind of corruption and also to maintain the transparency. The Procurement Commission is very effective.
Because Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has quipped about the Road Development Authority as well as an example to this. He has said that although it had the funds, it failed to manage those funds in accordance with the Treasury regulations.
That is exactly correct. That is why they owe more than 67 billion rupees to the contractors.
Right. I also want to pose a question from Mr. Jayasuriya. Now, Mr. Jayasuriya, seems like somewhat of a progressive amendment. We spoke about in consultation being replaced with on the advice. We spoke about the removal of the Prime Minister. That is one of the articles that Mr. Rajapaksa said is under contention. And then making sure that there is proper financial management as well. How do you view this?
Yeah, I appreciate the sincerity of my good friend Mr. Rajapaksa, the minister concerned. Irrespective of the personalities that are holding the office, whether it be the Prime Minister or the President, we cannot have a situation that we go back to the 2018 situation or even 2004 situation where ministries were taken away. So the 2018 was where the entire government was dissolved, the cabinet was dissolved and then new cabinet was sworn in and all that. So we cannot have that kind of situation. So whether there is an all-party government or not, that's still a different matter. But even with one seat, Mr. Wickremesinghe has now been appointed the Prime Minister of this country. So he must be given that maneuverability for him to move about and then convince other people. How is he going to convince the international community saying that you have one seat, you can be kicked out by the president at any point of time, and you are going, he'll say, oh, come on, you are not sure about your position. How can you come and ask us to help your country and your words are empty? You will promise various things, but when you go back, you are not sure whether you are the Prime Minister or not. So I think I quite appreciate this consultation business has to go out. There is no chance of having the consultation, even for this Parliament. I think whether we can do it or not, that's a different matter. Practicality is another issue, but with regard to the need of the country, the need of the society today is at the moment to make the Parliament stronger. So that has to be done.
Yeah, Mr. Gunasekara, don't you think that Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is exaggerating the current economic crisis to his advantage?
Exaggerating the current economic crisis. Why do you say that?
So you see now, Mr. Gunasekara, Sagar Ratnayaka has been put in to overlook the energy sector with Kanchana Vijayasekara. You see Akhil Viraj Karyavasam playing a role. The cult of the UNP is now very much close to, and these individuals were rejected by the people at one point at a general election, but they are getting close once again. Don't you think so?
Well, he needs officials to work.
So with the current cabinet he can't work?
No, he can't work alone.
No, so you are saying that he needs to have his associates or accomplices around him as well?
That is something that's his prerogative, right? No, you have to allow him to decide as to whom he wants to choose as his officials. But he needs officials to work.
Right. Mr. Rajapaksa, if you don't mind, please. This was one of the issues that was brought by Bandara Gunawardena at a press conference. You don't accept any salary.
In fact, that's during last 18 years that all my salaries I have spent for most of the hospitals. For more than 8 or 9 years salary.
How many backup?
One moment, that's 2 cancer hospital. And commencing from the last month, even before I was appointed, I assumed the duties as a member, the minister. I had given orders to Parliament to divert all my salaries for 6 months.
Right.
To this Lady Ridgeway Hospital.
Right. We appreciate your effort.
Even after becoming the minister, I have diverted that ministerial salary also to the same place.
Yeah, Mr. Alpha, just to get some clarity on this. So, how many vehicles do you use now?
Official or private?
When you came to the show, how many vehicles did you use?
Only one vehicle.
Only one vehicle.
Yes, I have 2 official vehicles.
Yeah.
At a time, I use one of them.
Right. So no backup vehicles.
At times that a few days I use it when there was troublesome period. Now I don't use.
So you're only going in your private vehicle?
No. That is official vehicle.
So the official vehicles,
yes.
You use it?
Yes.
Who
in
pumps?
fact, that I use my private vehicle also.
Right. So that's okay. So just to get some clarity on this. So who pumps petrol, or is it a diesel or a petrol vehicle?
That is a diesel.
So who pumps diesel to this vehicle?
There is a diesel allowance given for the ministers. I cannot remember exact amount. That is up to 500 the liters.
Yeah, approximately around 350,000 rupees given the current.
I don't know the prices.
Yeah, because of the current fuel prices are very exorbitantly high.
But I am using the official vehicle only if I am going for an official purpose. If it is my private work, that I have my own vehicles.
So the diesel is being pumped by
to the official vehicle. Yes.
What about the how many individuals are working under you? Are they being paid? Because usually a cabinet minister has individuals who are assigned to them.
Yes, that all this official work, that there is a government circular. In terms of that, we have appointed our officers, like that's the private secretary, 2 coordinating secretaries, there is one
A media secretary.
media secretary. They are working.
So they are being paid by the government.
They are being paid by the government.
Government, okay. Just to get some clarity, I just want
Yes.
to make sure that. Mr. Herat, you all have not been accepting your salaries
Yes,
for a long time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we have taken that decision at all members of parliamentarians and members of local government bodies. All salaries are being going to fund, the party fund,
Right.
and we use that party fund on behalf of so many social welfare activities.
Programs.
Right. I just, yeah.
Yes, I had a question from the
Yes,
from,
of course,
from,
yes,
that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
From a viewer, from Mr. Gunasekara. Question reads: SLFP chairperson Maithripala Sirisena said party members will not take up ministerial positions in the new cabinet, but two SLFP members went against this and took up ministerial positions. So the question is, but no action taken by the party against these two members.
I think Mr. Gunasekara answered that question earlier on, no, saying this is politics.
No, I didn't say it is politics. I said it was discussed at length, but the decision was postponed. It was discussed at length. But then the question is no. As I said before, I myself appealed at the committee. I said, look here, if there is a prime minister and if he is going to continue, somebody has to take up those posts. There has to be a cabinet, no. Otherwise, how can he function? So we'll have to reconsider our position, I feel.
I think in the first question you asked from Mr. Gunasekara that somebody said that there are no permanent friends and eternal enemies in politics.
Yeah.
In fact, that was said in 1860. The British Prime Minister Pierce, that is Palmerston. That is what he said, that in politics that there are no eternal enemies or permanent friends, but our goal is the same, that is to work for the benefit of the best benefit of the people.
Mr. Rajapaksa, in 1860 they said that, but in Sri Lankan politics, Mr. Rajapaksa, look at where we are today.
You need
All of
not
us.
compare. You need not compare.
Yeah,
I
look
just
at-
reminded.
Look at where we are. 8 to 9 hours a day in queues.
Queues, yeah.
Waiting to get rations. I don't know whether you all are aware, but I went to buy some rice yesterday to a
240.
supermarket, and rice was not available.
240, it's
300.
Even to buy at that price, Mr. Gunasekar, rice was not available. A kilo of dal, which was at 65 rupees 2 years ago, when Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that that a price cap would be imposed, it was at 65 rupees. Today, 640 rupees a kilo. A kilo of dal. Mr. Gunasekar, Mr. Jayasuriya said
not
that
65.
Sala is $800.
yeah, you said
No, Saleh is 1,000.
And now I'm talking about last week. Not to this
you
week.
said
It was
chicken,
10,000
you said chicken was at 1,200.
This morning.
Yesterday I bought
17 is 650, 700
650 rupees.
yes, 840 rupees salmon tin.
And the people who
a
are
can
without a
fish.
job now, those who have lost their job, how are they going to survive?
And Mr. Rajapaksa, if we keep on saying that no eternal friends and no eternal enemies in politics,
It
we'll
is
all
not an
go
excuse that I
It is
came
not an
out, I
excuse,
just
yeah.
reminded you only.
Okay, so
Because
we-
it came
so-
from you.
So we go in for a short commercial break. When we come back, it's the final round. Stay connected. Stay with Face the Nation. We'll give each member 3 minutes of uninterrupted time frame to rebut and bring forth what their final remarks are on Face the Nation tonight. Stay connected. Stay with Face the Nation. We will be right back.
COVID-19 සඳහා ආරක්ෂිත පියවර ජනයා වැඩි වශයෙන් සිටින ස්ථානයන්හි ගැවසීම මගහරින්න. රෝගය ආසාදිත පුද්ගලයන් හමුවීමට නොයන්න. මුහුණ, මුඛය, නාසය සහ ඇස් ඇල්ලීමෙන් වළකින්න. අනවශ්‍ය ගමන් බිමන් යෑමෙන් වළකින්න. මුඛාවරණය ඉදිරිපස ඇල්ලීමෙන් වළකින්න.
තනිව යන්න බෑයි කියන කාරණේද අධ්‍යාපනයේදී මම කියන්නේ ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් සිදුවෙන දේ.
අපිට රුසියානු සපත්තුව මේ ලංකාවට දාන්න බෑ ඒක ලොකුයි. චීන සපත්තුව සීන සමාජවාදී ඒකත් හරියන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක මේ කකුලට පොඩි. අපි අපේම සපත්තුව මහ ගන්න ඕනේ කියලා.
එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ මානව හිමිකම් කවුන්සිලය කියලා කියන්නේ මානව හිමිකම් පිළිබඳව ලෝක පාර්ලිමේන්තුව.
අපි පරිසරය කියන්නේ දෙකක් තිබුණා.
මම ඉස්කෝලේ යන කාලෙත් මේක තුන්වන ලෝකේ රටක්. දැන් මම මැරෙන්න යන කාලෙදි තුන්වන ලෝකේ රටක්.
ආණ්ඩුව රූපාන්තරණය වෙනවා රාජ්‍ය බවට.
එත දෙකේ එත පහේදී තමයි මේ වතු ඔක්කොම නැෂනලයිස් කරේ.
එහෙමයි ධර්මශ්‍රී රට ගැන විතරක් නෙමෙයි මම ගැනත් මම බය වෙලා ඉන්නේ.
අපනයන කවුද කරන්නේ? කවුද විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයට ගියන්නේ? කවුද අපේ ව්‍යාපාර කරන්නේ? විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයට ගියන්නේ?
Welcome back. This is Face Nation. We now move our attention in the final round to Upul Jayasuriya, President's Council, former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. What is the way forward?
I think to the problems that the society is facing today, all of us included, I think the biggest culprits here in this situation are the members of the Monetary Board of the Central Bank. There has to be two different policies. One is the economic policy, which is to be formulated by the central bank. Other one is by the politicians, particularly starting from the Minister of Finance, the fiscal policy. Now, the central bank, monetary board is supposed to give the minister reports every 2 weeks. If they have advised the minister about the situation, the deterioration of the rupee, and also the steps that got to be taken, whether they have advised each other, or vice versa, whatever. We don't know. That's why there is now a case filed before the Supreme Court about this matter, what they have done and what they have not done. In the meantime, there are 3 members. It has been now revealed by 2 members of the Monetary Board who were there at that time, Mrs. Rani Jayamaha and also Mr. Sanjeev Jayawardena. They have said that on 9 occasions they have written to the Monetary Board and said that don't do this. Don't allow the dollar reserves, which were at $7.5 billion at the time when they started the government 2 years ago, don't allow it to be depleted. And it was depleted. So that we kept on going on by paying with the big talk of Cabral, paying off billions of dollars as loans without going for reschedulement, without going for the IMF relief, which we have not done. Now we have hit the bottom. We have gone beyond the bottom. And the bottom is now penetrated. So we have no way to get out of it. We have no way to get out of it. Now there is also another thing that startling revelation that came up at the COPE committee, that these decisions were taken. This was said by none other than the governor of the central bank. That these decisions were taken but at a higher level, beyond even the monetary board. That he referred to, he named and referred to P.B. Jayasundara. Now he has no status quo. He has no official status at all to give directions to the monetary board. If he had done that, he must be charged for it. He must be punished for it. Not only him, the other members. There are the 3 members. There is W.D. Lakshman, doctor, then Cabral, then Samantha Kumarasinghe, and also the biggest culprit here is Articular. I say because he is the link, as explained by John Exter, when he brought in the concept of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka in 1949, that was a link between the fiscal policy and the economic policy, because he was the Secretary to the Treasury. Now he was a lackey of the P.B. Jayasundara. We all know that. So he was doing what he was told to do by PB Jasu, who had no official status quo. So thereafter, with this decision that was taken, as I tried to explain it earlier also, the gap between the official rate and the unofficial rate, the expats stopped sending the money into the country, and the gap widened by about 60-70 rupees. So forget the law of the country, they wanted to get a little more rupees for whatever the money that they were going to send to their loved ones in Sri Lanka. So they stopped sending through the official sources and they sent it through the Hawala sources. And you can't stop that. But any amount of laws cannot stop it. So that is why we didn't get the nearly $3.5–4 billion that were coming to us from there. So then we have now gone into a spiral. Now we can't get out of it again. We have no dollars. Every country knows in the world, they know that we have no dollars. Now we are worse than beggars. Beggars, at least they get the begging ball going round and they get something, and then they are assured of a meal. But we are not assured of a meal tomorrow. So for this situation, we have to put it right. We have to open the gates. We have to ask the investors to come in, increase the exports. That's the only way to bring dollars into this country. There are many ways of doing that. The BOI law is archaic. That has to be changed to suit the current needs. And give every opportunity. We were the second country in the entire the world when we opened the economy in 1978. But people who came to us, India, Pakistan, Vietnam, Bangladesh, China, they came after 1982. We started in 1978. They came and studied our system and they went and did it much better than we have done. It is not only the politicians. Our public servants are also to be blamed. We have brought in foreign FDIs into this country, only $15 billion into this during this 40-year period. Look at Bangladesh. They have done more than $250 billion. We have done only 15 billion. Something is wrong somewhere. So put the systems right. Change the systems. Open the gates. Put the red carpet to the investor. From the word go, from the time they land at the airport until they go back to the airport, the public servants and the politicians, they are asking for bribes. So nothing moves on this in this country. So that is why the people go appalled by this situation and they don't come back again. Right. So we have to put that right.
Thank you very much, Upul Jayasuriya, President's Council, former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. I now move my attention to Kesarlal Gunasekara, former Member of Parliament.
Shamin, there are two issues I would like to touch at this last round because number one, I expected the Prime Minister to come out with this plan of action, especially for the issue of diesel and petrol. Unless he comes out with a coupon system, I don't think this is going to work. It's going to be a serious issue.
But there's a coupon system based on what Kanchana Vijayasekara said a couple of days ago. There is going to be a coupon system introduced starting next month.
Yeah, but the coupon system, what he's talking is not what I'm talking about. Because I feel that the buses, the privates hiring cars, trishaws will have to be given priority. Will have to be given priority. They are the people who are carrying the major passenger load. So that is one. Then he has to look into as to what he's going to do to ensure that he brings in more dollars into this country. Even the expatriates who are sending, if the rate is stabilized, they should send through the normal channels. If that is happening, then there is money coming in. The tourism sector, you have to open up the tourism sector. That's the only way. I was very, very unhappy with the statement that he made with that journalist a couple of days back when I asked a question as to whether he is expecting tourism to prosper in this country. It was not a good reply at all by the Prime Minister. I'm very disappointed in that. Then we need to understand this. There is a silver lining. We have hit the rock bottom, but still we have to come out of it as to whether we can improve our production lines and whatever that he exported. Value addition is the key. Even tea, we need value addition. If we do value addition, there's so much money that we can make, and that's the way forward. We have to look on those lines, and you got to understand there are so many companies which are retrenching staff. Those people back on the road is a very serious problem. The government will have to look into this aspect and see how they are going to assist these people who are losing their jobs. That's a very difficult issue, but still for all, the government needs to. So the only thing is, before having any of these elections, put the house in order, and then thereafter you can go for an election. Because this is not the time to have any election.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kesara Gunsegara, former Member of Parliament. I now move attention to Vijay Herat, Member of Parliament from the National People's Power.
According to my perspective, I think if we want to have a political stability in our country, there must be an election. Otherwise, there is no any other solution. There is a government, but we cannot say it is a government. It is a plaster. It is a temporary solution. I think Ranil Wickremesinghe has appointed as a Prime Minister 12th of last month. Today, today also 13th of this month. 1 month passed. What has happened? There is no anything. Nothing has happened. Earlier he said that he had so many foreign friends, China, America, India, all are friends. Because of that friendship, he can bring so many money from outside, but nothing has happened. Therefore, now he is exaggerating. That's correct, exaggerating, because it is also trick. Earlier, all Minister of Finances, they said that no, we have enough money, there is no any economic crisis. But Ranil Wickremesinghe is totally different. He is using another trick. He is exaggerating the situation, and he wants to build a fear about the economy. It is also some kind of way how to manage the situation. But this is not a permanent solution. Therefore, we think, and our suggestion is, though there are so many difficulties, we must go for an election. Otherwise, we have to face so many difficulties in future than present. Therefore, our stand is that for the political crisis. And as far as concerns the 21st Amendment, we have talked about ministries, portfolios. I think it is better if we can include a sentence clause limiting the portfolios. Numbers of the portfolios. Because if you study the Provincial Council Act, there is only 5 ministries that is in the Act. And if we can include that clause to the Constitution, and 25 or whatever the amount, we can discuss party to party meeting, and we must include that sentence. And state ministries also same numbers. And after passing the 21st Amendment in the Parliament, I think within a short period we have to go for an election, because present Prime Minister has no any right to continue his power furthermore.
Mandate.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Mr. Vijay Herat. I now move attention to Dr. Vijayasa Rajapaksa, Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms.
In fact, that we had to face to this predicament due to a variety of, the mistakes committed during last 2.5 years. The wrong appointments, the wrong decisions, the tax concession extended to the higher earning communities. If not for that, the amount that should have been collected by the revenue authorities should have been amounted to equivalent to $7 billion up to now, and we have lost that one. In addition to that, due to the fertilizer policy, at least we have lost about 50% of our harvest. Now, in fact, that we undertook this task knowing the difficulties we are having, and also as a matter of our duty to help the country to get over from this predicament. Now, the immediate actions what we'll have to take is to stabilize the political atmosphere in the country. Without that, we cannot go for the economic stability. Now in my side, of course, in my ministry, that's our main target is to stabilize the political arena. At the same time, to help the other authorities to make sure that the economy will be restored. As far as the 21st Amendment is concerned, there are admirable features here, but I know that there are certain issues still to be resolved. If I get the support of all the members of the parliament, at least 150 members in the parliament, that I can improve it more. And with regard to the limitation of the ministers, originally in the 19th Amendment, we fix it at 30, and in the 20th Amendment also that they did not change it. I told you about 10 points, that was one of them we didn't allow that to remove. And the 21st proposed amendment also that we maintain it as 30.
Mr. Rajapaksa, very quickly before I let you go, because you are representing the government, is there any disagreement between President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Ranil Wickremesinghe? On any matters? No, so far no. Even today the cabinet meeting, that's our discussions were very cordial. So no problem yet? No problem yet? What are you anticipating? No, I'm just asking. That you anticipate something. I don't anticipate anything. Being a journalist, Mr. Gunasekara, anticipation is key. One more question to you, Mr. Rajapaksa. Very quickly, tell us any new ministerial positions to be given out in the coming few days, or state ministerial posts that are being discussed to be given out in the next few days? No, there were any discussion with us, but I heard that there will be few more ministers to be appointed, but within that limitation. Because the 90th Amendment to the Constitution very clearly says if it's an interim, if it's a coalition government, the number can exceed. No, national government. National government. National government, yes. I have inserted the provisions to abolish that part. Hereafter, no national government. Any government. No, any government. No, that's one of the purpose was to increase the number of ministers. That is just to get the support of the other political parties. But both clauses that I have proposed to be repealed. Right, so we'll have 30 cabinet ministers and approximately 75 state ministers. That won't happen. Altogether 40. 40. Only 40. Right. Okay. State and deputies. Both together cannot exceed 40. Right. So there is a limitation on that. Right. So 40 plus 30, 70. 70, yeah. 70. Maximum is 70. Maximum 70. Maximum 70. Right. Not like the previous Mahinda Rajapaksa government, the number goes to around 100. Went up to 112. No? Yeah, 112. It won't happen. No. Right. What a way, no, Mr. Rajapaksa. 113 needed to have a majority in the parliament. Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa goes and appoints 112 people to positions. And the speaker makes it 13. Very quickly, Mr. Rajapaksa, I know I don't want to ask you any more questions, but one quick question. What will happen to those individuals who brought us to this situation? Because we are right now in dire straits at the moment. What's going to happen to them? You said 2.5 years. Mismanagement and so on and so forth. What's going to happen to now? You're the Minister of Justice. Yes. Now there are so many oversight committees in the Parliament that they will release reports from time to time with certain recommendations that we'll have to act upon those recommendations. In addition to that, there are other matters where the people and even the politicians have complained to the Bribery Commission. In fact, that this is also an important factor. Now that's the people are not quite satisfied with the conduct of the Bribery Commission and no much results. And also the corruptions by the politicians. There is an act passed in 1973, the declaration of assets and liabilities by politicians and officials. There are a lot of criticism that there is any authority to monitor all those things. Therefore, we have already drafted a new bill to have a new
bribery law together with the declaration of assets and liabilities by the officials and the politicians, which will be monitored closely. And I am trying to bring that bill in the course of the next week to the to the cabinet.
Right.
So
Thank you very much.
agency, yes, sir.
Monitoring agency.
Right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your thoughts. Dr. Vijayasa Rajapaksha, Mr. Vijay Herath, Mr. Puljaya Surya, President's Council, as well as Mr. Kesar Gunasekar for joining us this evening on Face the Nation. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in. We hope and pray, Dr. Rajapaksha, that you will be given the strength and power as a cabinet minister now, at least, to take us out of this situation that we are facing at the moment. Because right now, Mr. Rajapaksha, the country is in one of the worst situations at this point of time, and we only hope that we'll be able to take the country forward in the right trajectory without any corruption, devoid of corruption. So all the very best to you, and thank you very much, Shehan, for joining us this evening on Face the Nation. I leave you tonight with a quote, as I always do. The future is there looking back at us, trying to make sense of the fiction we will have all become. Take care and good night.